Security cameras never blink, never look away, and never forget what they see. From chairs that move on their own, to shadowy figures crossing roads, lurking in doorways, and vanishing into thin air. These are some of the most chilling CCTV moments ever caught on camera. Trust me, once you start watching, you won't be able to look away. A guard was reviewing road camera footage in El Paso, Texas, on the 18th of September 2016, when he noticed something strange on the crosswalk. A figure dressed in white stood motionless in the middle of the road, with long black hair hanging over its face. Moments later, a car sped through the intersection, but instead of swerving or stopping, it passed straight through the figure as if nothing had been there. The guard had grown up hearing stories about La Llorona wandering near roads at night, and after watching the footage, he could not shake the feeling that he had just seen her on his screen. Doorway Witch? This footage came from a home in Casper, Wyoming, late on the night of December 21st, 2014. A figure dressed in white appeared standing motionless in the open doorway, barely visible through the dim green glow of night vision. It stayed perfectly still for several seconds, almost like it was watching the room. Then, without warning, its whole body shook violently before it dissolved into the darkness behind it. Later, when the homeowner reviewed this footage, he was sure that his house was haunted by a witch, so he moved to a new place. Church Spirit. This footage came from a church hallway on the 21st of February, 2012, somewhere in rural Pennsylvania. Late at night, a faint figure, dressed in white with long black hair covering its face, appeared at the far end of the hall, standing motionless as though it were watching the empty corridor. After a few seconds, it began to fade, thinning out like smoke caught in a breeze. Then, instead of vanishing all at once, it drifted slowly to the right, leaving behind a faint white trail. Viewers online dismissed it as a hoax. Misty Figure. A man living on the outskirts of Cardiff, Wales, reviewed his porch camera footage after hearing strange noises in the middle of the night. A pale, smoke-like figure appeared drifting along his porch, its shape shifting and thinning with every step. It moved at a steady, almost human pace, coming close to the camera view. But before it could appear fully, it vanished as if it was not even there. After seeing this misty figure, he started believing in ghosts. Peculiar road crossing. A street camera, looking over an intersection in Savannah, Georgia, caught a dark, shapeless figure suddenly appearing at the edge of the road in broad daylight. It moved slowly out into the street, drifting more than walking, with no clear arms or legs to make out. Just as it reached the center lane, a truck came rolling through and passed straight over the spot where it stood, as if it were made of smoke. When the footage was shared on Instagram, viewers identified it as a phantom. Possessed Girl. A CCTV camera in an office in Charlotte, North Carolina, captured a worker sitting alone at her desk late at night. She appeared focused on her task when a strange, pale-faced woman passed by her before suddenly disappearing. The worker did not seem to notice, almost as if the figure had only appeared on camera. Moments later, the worker began acting strangely. She suddenly sat upright with a sharp, unnatural movement, her arms snapping out to the sides before she collapsed to the ground. When she regained consciousness and later watched the footage, she became convinced that a spirit had entered her body. Terrified by what she saw, she left her job and never returned. Bone-chilling encounter. On the night of April 14th, 2021, a strange moment was caught on a CCTV camera at a hotel in Glasgow, UK. In the middle of the night, a woman was walking downstairs to complain that the AC wasn't working. As she was going down the stairs, a dark shadow suddenly crossed her path. There were no clear features, just a dark shadow. It paused for a second, then bolted after her. With trembling hands, she packed her bags and left the hotel immediately, remembering how her friends had warned her not to stay there because people said it was haunted. Spooked by a ghost. A guard on night shift at a warehouse in Dayton, Ohio, noticed the chair beside him sliding a few inches across the floor. Curious and a bit scared, he kept watching the chairs. Then, without warning, the chairs flipped over at once, as if thrown by some unseen force. Terrified, He ran straight home that night, and the fear stayed with him so badly that he came down with a high fever and never returned to his job again. Hallway shadow. A security guard at a hotel in Asheville, North Carolina, stepped out of his room to start his day shift. The hallway camera caught something he had never seen himself. A dark, hunched shape moving low near the floor just behind him, heading toward a room. It moved without a sound, before fading into the dim light. When he reviewed the footage later, he was left shocked, because he had been working in this hotel for the past 10 years, but had never experienced something like this before. Parking lot passenger. A guard checking the parking lot footage of a used car dealership in Bristol, England, noticed something odd moving toward the rows of vehicles. A faint, shadow-like shape drifted across the gravel, barely visible against the dull evening light. As he watched, one of the car doors swung open on its own, and the shape slipped inside, settling into the driver's seat as if it belonged there. The guard shared the clip online, convinced he'd captured something otherworldly. Most viewers brushed it off as nothing more than a trick of the camera and bad lighting. Strange smoky figure. On the 27th of March, 2011, a guard reviewing footage from a gas station in Casper, Wyoming, came across something that left him shocked. A dark gray figure with no clear face or features appeared standing beside one of the fuel pumps. It lingered there for a moment, motionless, before sliding backward into the shadows and disappearing completely. There was no one near the pumps at that hour, and nothing on the footage explained what it was. After that night, the guard refused to take another night shift, believing it was a ghost. Pokong. A street camera in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, captured something that reminded locals of stories passed down for generations. Late at night, a white figure wrapped tightly in a burial shroud appeared on an empty street. Its body seemed bound from head to toe, with no feet visible beneath it, making it look as though it was gliding rather than walking. The figure moved along the road for a few moments before suddenly vanishing. Many who saw the footage believed it was a pokong, a restless spirit from local folklore, said to wander at night until its burial shroud is finally untied. Invisible force. A man who had moved into a new flat in Akron, Ohio, just 2 days earlier, was checking on dinner at the table when his camera caught something strange behind him. A chair sitting against the wall slowly shifted on its own. Then, even more mysteriously, the chair tipped over and slid across the floor. Unsettled, he showed the clip to a neighbor, hoping for some explanation. Instead, the neighbor told him the house had a haunted history. Mysterious visitor. A homeowner in Hagerstown, Maryland, was checking his front porch camera footage one afternoon when something passed in front. A blurry, brown shape moved low and fast across the yard. At first, he assumed it was a stray animal wandering through, until he remembered his own dog had passed away just a week earlier, the same brown color. He couldn't shake the feeling that it had come back to pay him a final visit. Street phantom. After a recent robbery in his neighborhood, a homeowner in Leeds, England, started reviewing his outdoor camera footage, hoping to spot anything suspicious. What he found instead wasn't a burglar. A black shadow drifted down the street between the parked cars, moving without any clear shape or footsteps. It passed the driveway and went out of view. Curious, he shared the clip on Reddit, but viewers also could not identify what it was. Cat spirit. Just a week ago in Manchester, England, a man checked his driveway camera after one of his car tires went missing overnight. While watching the footage, he saw his neighbor's white cat walking in front of the parked cars. Then he noticed something strange behind it. A second blurry cat following the same path, walking right behind the white cat before slowly fading away. Later, he showed the footage to his neighbor. The neighbor said it looked like his other cat, which had passed away a month earlier. That cat had been very attached to the white cat, so he believed it might have been following its old friend. Mysterious peeker. A homeowner in Salem, Oregon, was reviewing his security camera footage one October night in 2016 when something strange caught his attention. A mysterious figure with a bald head and dark sunken eyes peeked out from behind a corner. But the moment it seemed to notice the camera, it suddenly slipped back out of sight. After watching the footage, the homeowner became convinced that something otherworldly had been watching his house that night. Rake. A man in rural Helena, Montana, set up a camera facing his backyard after finding strange footprints in the dirt for 2 consecutive days. One night, the camera finally caught a hunched figure with a bald head and unusually thin limbs walking upright with an uneven stride. It did not look like a person. Curious, he shared the clip on Instagram, and viewers identified this figure as Rake. Blurry visitor. A security guard working his regular day shift at a school in Albany, New York, noticed something unusual near the entrance. A blurry figure appeared by the barricade and seemed to pass straight through the gate, heading toward the building. Curious and unsettled, the guard walked closer to see what it was, but when he reached the spot, there was nothing there. Later, he checked the CCTV footage and saw the same strange figure on camera. When he showed the footage to the principal, they were both left convinced that it looked like a ghost. Highway runner. A traffic monitoring camera on the Western Expressway near Eureka, California, captured something moving at a speed no ordinary animal could match. The creature, with glowing eyes, sprinted on all fours before suddenly leaping over the center divider and vanishing across the opposite lanes within seconds. The area had already been linked to rumors of werewolf sightings over the years, and after this clip surfaced, many viewers became even more convinced that those rumors might be true. Treadmill stumble. A woman working out at a gym in Reno, Nevada, was walking on a treadmill when something unusual happened. At first, she seemed completely fine, moving at a steady pace. After a while, she slowed the machine down and came to a stop, as if she was about to step off, but moments later, she suddenly lost her balance and collapsed to the floor. She stayed down for a while before getting back up on her own, looking around in confusion. It seemed as though her legs had unexpectedly given out after the workout. Kitchen shadow. A man cooking dinner one evening in his kitchen in Ipoh, Malaysia, had no idea something had passed behind him until he reviewed the footage later. While he stood at the stove stirring a pot, a dark shadow drifted silently across the hallway behind him. He walked into the room and passed straight through the shadow. The shadowy figure continued drifting for a while, then vanished. When he watched the footage, he couldn't shake the feeling that it might have been the soul of his grandmother, who had passed away just a month ago. Haunted chair. A man working late at an office in Tulsa, Oklahoma, got up from his desk to grab a glass of water. While he was gone, the camera caught his chair being pushed in and then sliding back on its own, as if someone's invisible hand had pulled it out to sit down. A co-worker sitting behind him noticed the movement first. He didn't wait to figure out why it was moving and left the office without saying a word to anyone. Later, when the management reviewed the footage, they were convinced that it was a poltergeist activity. Shadowy figure. A man in Spokane, Washington, had already seen something he couldn't explain in his own home, so he set up a camera hoping to catch it again. At 4 in the morning, the footage picked up movement near the doorway. First, a dark shape slipped into the room from the hallway. Right behind it, a second shadow moved past the camera, drifting through the dark without a sound. After watching the clip, the man couldn't bring himself to sleep alone in that room for 3 weeks. Street spectre. A street camera in Whitby, North Yorkshire, caught something passing through at 10:18 one morning that left viewers shocked. A strange white figure walked upright across the road, moving with a steady, almost human stride, before disappearing. There was no clear face, no detail to its body, just a pale shape crossing the street, like anyone might on their way somewhere. When the clip made its way online, several viewers were convinced it was a specter. What do you think it really was? Convenience store spirit. After a robbery at a convenience store in Akron, Ohio, the guard was watching the CCTV footage, hoping to spot the thief. Instead, he found something far stranger. A dark, shadowy figure drifted near the metal gate at the back of the store, and moments later, items began dropping off the shelves, with no one anywhere close to them. Then the vending machine started rattling as if something invisible was pushing it. The thief was never identified, but the guard was convinced that something else had been in that store, causing these disturbances. Haunted clinic. One Friday night, back in 2012, a doctor going through his clinic's security footage in Topeka, Kansas, came across something that stopped him cold. A small, faint, almost transparent figure appeared at the edge of the hallway, peeking out from behind the corner before sliding back out of view just as quickly. No staff had been in the clinic at that hour, and nothing about its size or shape matched anyone who worked there. The doctor rewound the clip twice and was left convinced his clinic was haunted. Workshop phantom. Inside a workshop in Flagstaff, Arizona, a night camera meant to watch over the parked cars caught something far stranger than a break-in. A dark, hunched shape crept out from behind one of the vehicles on all fours, moving low on the floor. Then it stopped and slowly rose upright until it stood like a person. No one was working except the owner, so there was no reason for anyone to be crawling around the shop floor. When the owner reviewed the tape the next morning, he became sure that his shop was haunted by a ghost. Mirror door. A woman in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, had been feeling like she wasn't alone in her room for 3 nights straight, so she finally set up a camera to see for herself. Around 1 in the morning, she got up and walked to the kitchen for a glass of water, leaving the room empty behind her. The footage showed her bedroom door, still shut tight, yet its reflection in the old dresser mirror showed it slowly creaking open on its own. By the time she came back, everything looked exactly as she had left it, untouched. Dog sensed ghost. A woman in Burlington, Vermont, set up a camera to keep an eye on her dog while she was out, never expecting it to catch anything strange. In the footage, a paper towel roll lying still on the floor suddenly rolled a few inches to the left, with nothing nearby to push it. The dog, lying nearby, snapped its head up and stared at that exact spot, alert. The woman shared the clip on Instagram, and one commenter pointed out that dogs are said to sense things people simply can't see. Doorbell visitor. A man checking his doorbell camera in Lubbock, Texas, on a quiet Sunday came across a clip that didn't sit right with him. A woman appeared on his porch late at night, ringing the bell repeatedly, looking frightened before slipping behind a pillar to hide. Moments later, a police van rolled slowly down the street, searching the area with a spotlight. When he finally called the police, they told him she was a wanted robber they'd been tracking for weeks. Wandering soul. This footage came from a school security camera in Warren, Michigan, recorded early one March morning before classes had even started. A student walked alone down the empty hallway, pausing for a while, waiting for the elevator. Right beside him, a small white orb hovered in midair, faint and almost transparent, drifting near the wall before fading from view. She never seemed to notice it was there at all. When staff later reviewed the tape, they identified it as the soul of a student who had passed away in the hallway 3 days earlier. Paranormal activity. I hope you've enjoyed it so far, but it's about to get more insane after this. Trust me. Quickly like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next part. A man living in an apartment in Topeka, Kansas, had noticed things shifting out of place around his home for weeks, so he finally set up a camera to catch whatever was happening. He placed a TV remote flat on the floor, and suddenly, it flipped over on its own and skidded hard across the room, as if it had been kicked by an unseen force. Convinced he finally had proof, he took the clip straight to his landlord. Terrified, he packed his things and moved out, fearing the apartment was haunted.
Is there anything in this?
Sea horror. On the 14th of December, 2015, near the docks in Charleston, South Carolina, a Navy guard was on late-night watch by the water. Suddenly, the surface began to ripple. Something unseen grabbed his leg and pulled him toward the water. Another guard tried to help, but he panicked and ran to call for backup. By the time others arrived, the guard was gone. Whatever had been hiding beneath the surface had dragged him under. Late-night visitor. At 4:16 in the morning, a doorbell camera in Houston, Texas, picked up a woman walking straight up to the front porch, acting strangely. She leaned in close, peering through the glass door as if checking whether anyone was home, then glanced around nervously before looking directly up into the camera. The homeowner, reviewing the clip the next day, had no idea who she was or why she'd shown up at that hour. No knock, no doorbell ring, just a stranger lingering outside. Curious, he shared the clip on TikTok. One commenter suggested that the woman may have been intoxicated and was possibly trying to figure out whether she was at the right house. Glowing figure. A woman was cleaning the floor of a home in Bandung, Indonesia, late one evening when she suddenly stopped mid-sweep after noticing something moving toward her. It appeared to be a glowing white shape with no visible features. Startled, she dropped her broom and stood frozen in place. Later, she told the homeowner what she had seen. After reviewing the recording himself, he became convinced that the house was haunted and believed that might be why the Airbnb rent was so cheap. Mysterious rolling chair. A security guard working the late-night shift at a hospital in Macon, Georgia, was reviewing the hallway footage when something made him pause. A wheelchair sitting empty near the waiting room chairs suddenly began rolling forward on its own, drifting slowly across the open floor toward the corridor. There was no slope to the ground, no draft strong enough to push something that heavy, and no one anywhere in the video. Curious, he showed this footage to his supervisor, who claimed it might be the soul of a patient who had passed away in a wheelchair. Frightening intruder. A woman in Knoxville, Tennessee, set up a camera in her home after hearing strange noises for several nights in a row. One night, she was woken by loud banging in the middle of the night. The CCTV footage showed a pale, hooded figure forcing the door open, slamming its head against it, and then pushing its head through the gap to peer into a room. She screamed for help, but by the time anyone came to check on her, she was gone. Authorities later identified the figure as a member of a gang known for wearing terrifying masks and abducting women. Cursed doll head. This camera was set up inside a shop in Providence, Rhode Island, where an old carved head sat locked inside a glass display case. One night, the security footage caught something the guard never expected. The figure's eyes slowly opened on their own, and the glass case door creaked open without anyone near it. Then its lips began moving, as if it were trying to speak, though no sound came through on the recording. The guard reviewing the tape quit his job mid-shift, convinced the shop was haunted. Parking ghost. A man in Tacoma, Washington, reviewed his apartment parking garage camera after finding his motorcycle knocked over. In the footage, no one was near the bike when its engine suddenly roared to life on its own. The motorcycle rolled forward and began slowly circling the empty parking spot, its headlight cutting through the dark garage. Then, just as suddenly, the parking lot lights flickered on, and the bike dropped back to the ground. He later shared the clip on Instagram, claiming it was caused by a ghost, but many viewers dismissed it as a technology glitch. Well, apparition. One day, a man was casually reviewing security footage from his farmhouse in rural Madison County, Kentucky, which overlooked an old stone well. While watching the footage, he noticed a faint, blurry figure appear above the well. It lingered there for a while, almost blending into the surroundings, before slowly fading away. Wells have long been believed to be mysterious places, sometimes seen as doorways where restless spirits remain close to water. After seeing the strange apparition, the man became convinced it might have been a well spirit. But what do you think it really was? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Haunted gas station. This footage was shared on Instagram on the 10th of June, 2011, and quickly caught people's attention online. It showed a quiet gas station late at night. Then, without anyone nearby, the fuel pump's nozzle lifted off its holder on its own and began running, gasoline pouring out onto the empty pavement below for several seconds before the pump shut off by itself. No car had pulled in, no attendant was nearby. Viewers who saw the clip were convinced something unseen had been messing with the machine that night. The Skinwalker chase. After a man was reported missing, a police officer reviewing street camera footage from a quiet road outside Flagstaff, Arizona, noticed something unexpected. The missing man suddenly appeared on screen, running down the empty road as if he had seen something terrifying. Moments later, a strange creature emerged from the darkness, crawling low and fast on all fours. 3 long tails trailed behind it, and although its movements seemed animal-like, its shape looked disturbingly unnatural. After reviewing the footage, the officer became convinced that the creature was a skinwalker and that it might have been responsible for the man's disappearance. Possessed woman. In Salem, Massachusetts, a man was checking his backyard security footage one day when he spotted a woman acting strangely near his property. She had thin legs and a wrinkled body with a half-bald head. She stood with one hand around her neck, as if she were choking or not in control of herself. Her movements looked stiff and confused, making him fear something was seriously wrong. He called 911 right away. Moments later, the woman climbed onto a metal railing and suddenly disappeared from view. When police investigated, they identified her as a mentally unstable woman who had fled from a nearby hospital. Storage room spirit. A school's storage room camera in Bangor, Maine, caught something strange happening long after the building had emptied for weeks. One of the locker drawers began sliding back and forth on its own, with no visible source near it. Moments later, papers stacked inside the open cabinets lifted and scattered across the floor, as if swept by an unseen hand. When the school guard reviewed the footage, he was left shocked and quit his job, thinking this school was haunted. Back in 2021, an old building in Birmingham, Alabama, was left completely abandoned after several residents claimed they had seen ghosts inside it. A man who lived nearby could not stop wondering what was really happening there, so he set up a camera facing the building. One afternoon, while going through the old footage, he suddenly noticed something strange. On the second-floor balcony, a figure dressed in white appeared out of nowhere. The figure kept gliding along the balcony until it reached the far corner. Then, just as mysteriously as it had appeared, it faded away. After watching the clip again and again, he became convinced that the building was really haunted. Deep Staria jellyfish. An oceaneering ROV deployed at 5,042 feet in the Gulf of Mexico captured this on the 25th of April, 2012. What filled the frame looked less like an animal and more like a sheet of pale tissue drifting loose in the water. Thin, semi-transparent, folding and unfolding as it moved. This is Deep Staria enigmatica, and it has no tentacles. Instead, it traps prey by closing its entire sheet-like bell around whatever drifts inside it, sealing it shut like an envelope. The ocean built a creature that hunts by becoming a bag. Pufferfish. A diver filming along a sandy reef flat in the Maldives came face to face with this and instinctively stopped moving. It hovered there, white and spotted, staring directly into the lens with an expression that looked less like curiosity and more like suspicion. Pufferfish are one of the most toxic creatures in the ocean. Their organs carry tetrodotoxin, a poison with no known antidote, strong enough to make a human unresponsive. But this one had no interest in fleeing. It just held its position, watching, unimpressed by the camera, and swam away. Black Seedville. In February of 2025, a diver off the coast of Tenerife in the Canary Islands filmed this near the surface and was left shocked. It had a round, jet black body with a wide jaw lined with long, curved, transparent teeth, small, rigid fins splayed beneath it, and a single bioluminescent lure extending from its jaw. Black Seedvilles live 4,000 meters down in darkness. This was actually a female because only females carry the lure. Males are 10 times smaller and spend their entire lives fused to a female's body, sharing her bloodstream. Sagami Encounter. In 2010, a camera operating in Sagami Bay off the coast of Japan picked up this shape moving through the water. Pale, large, and slow, with what appeared to be a rounded head and a broad body that tapered behind it. The footage spread fast, under one name, Ningen, a Japanese word meaning human, used by online communities to describe reported sightings of giant white humanoid forms in deep water. Whether this is a whale, an unknown species, or something else entirely, only you can decide. Sea monster.
Look at the size of that head.
A research team went down into the Challenger Deep, west of Guam in the Western Pacific, to explore the sea inhabitants. What came out of the dark instead was a face, a massive, broad skull drifting straight toward the lens, pale, rubbery skin pitted with deep craters across the snout, a jaw with short, jagged teeth lining the bottom, small, sunken eyes. It moved the way it owned the ocean. The body kept passing the lens for what felt too long.
Never seen anything
They're
like it.
serrated, translucent.
Strange sea anomaly. A deep-sea research team was surveying the sediment floor near the Izu Ogasawara Trench, east of Japan, when their camera caught something strange. A pale, dome-shaped body hovered just above the sand, supported by three long, bone-white rays that pressed straight down into the sediment, like legs. Two more extended behind it, thin as wire, trailing in the current. It was lifting each ray slowly and pressing it back down, moving across the bare seafloor one careful step at a time. Small clouds of sand rose where it touched. Nobody on the team could agree on what they were looking at. Magnapinna squid. An oil company's deep-sea camera was inspecting a pipeline near the Gulf of Mexico when something drifted into the lights at 2,000 meters down. A pale, translucent body the size of a football, with arms that bent sharply outward at the elbow before dropping straight down in long, trailing threads, each one several times the length of its entire body. It was moving in the water, arms spread wide like it was waiting. This is a Magnapinna squid, famous for its eerie, alien-like appearance. It is the only known squid to inhabit the extreme Hadal zone, surviving at depths exceeding 20,000 feet. Transforming creature. A remotely operated camera descended over 1,000 meters into the Pacific when it caught this shape drifting through the blue. At first, it looked like a symbol etched in the water, symmetrical, slow-moving, almost deliberate. Then, it came into focus. A deep violet body, translucent at the edges, with a single glowing orange organ visible right through its skin. That is its heart, beating in open view with nothing around it but the ocean. No shell, no camouflage, no defense. Just a creature floating in complete darkness, completely exposed, and somehow completely unbothered by it. Mysterious creature. On the 17th of April, 1991, a camera sent down nearly 800 meters off the coast of the Philippines captured this drifting through the dark. It had a pale, almost architectural body, ribbed and structured like a lantern, with long trailing tentacles fanning out in every direction beneath it, making it a terrifying sight. Write in the comments section if you have any idea about what it was. Prehistoric creature. A deep-sea monitoring camera picked this up at 155 meters near an underwater research cage in the Pacific. At first, the video showed just a silhouette, broad, slow-moving, pressing close to the metal bars, then revealed the jawline, serrated, ridged along every edge with a long, scaly tail. Later, when the video reached the experts, they could not identify it. So, if you have any idea, write it down in the comments section. Peculiar sea creature. A deep-sea camera recording at over 3,000 meters in the Philippine Sea caught this suspended in the water, rotating slowly as it drifted. Two wide fins spread from its body like wings, and beneath them, tentacles trailed downward in long pale threads that seemed too thin to belong to anything alive. What made it stranger was the spin slow, continuous, like it was scanning. The big-fin squid is one of the least documented creatures on Earth. Scientists have recorded it fewer than a dozen times. Most people who see the footage assume it has been edited. Giant phantom jelly. A deep-sea camera spotted this drifting through the water column nearly 1,000 meters below the surface of the Monterey Bay. Its bell alone was over a meter-wide, pale, dome-shaped, with a deep red organ glowing through the tissue at its center. Four long, ribbon-like arms trailed below it, each one broad enough to wrap around a person. The giant phantom jellyfish was first photographed alive in 1991. Since then, scientists have encountered it fewer than 100 times total. Crown jellyfish? A diver's camera picked this up, hovering in the dark ocean, a pale dome, folded and structured like a closed fist, with long amber tentacles spreading outward from beneath it. What makes crown jellyfish different from most is that they do not sting prey into paralysis. They fold those tentacles inward, wrapping food directly into their body. One of the strangest predators in the deep, and it does not chase a single thing it eats. Unidentified sea creature. A camera mounted on an anchor line in the South China Sea picked this up drifting past in the dark. Small, pale, and nearly featureless from a distance. Just a soft, rounded body with long, thin tentacles trailing outward in every direction. Up close, something inside its tissue caught the light, a faint pinkish organ visible through the skin. Its tentacles are shifting slowly with the current. Whatever it was, it seemed completely unbothered by the camera inches from its body. Marine iguana. A diver filming the rocky shallows off Fernandina Island in the Galapagos came across this hovering motionless in the current, dark and upright, claws tucked in, and spine ridge catching the light from above. It looked prehistoric because it is the marine iguana, the only lizard on Earth that forages in the sea, diving up to 30 meters to scrape algae off submerged rock. Its specialized tail allows it to swim efficiently, while its long claws help to grip rocks against strong currents. To manage high salt intake from their diet, they sneeze out excess salt, which often leaves white crusts on their heads. Bigfin squid. A research camera scanning the seabed of the Banda Sea picked this up, hovering just above the sediment. From a distance, it looked like something had been left suspended in the water. A small, pale body with arms stretching outward and downward in every direction, each one ending in a thread so thin it nearly disappeared against the dark. Those arms can reach up to 8 meters long, each one bending at a distinct elbow before hanging straight down like glass wire. Feather star. A diver exploring the shallows off Palau came across this moving across the sandy floor and stopped filming everything else. Dark, angular, with long arms spreading outward from a central body, each one lined with hundreds of tiny branches that made it look more like burnt wood than anything alive. But it was moving. Feather stars can swim by beating those arms in coordinated waves, which looks deeply wrong for something that appears so rigid. They have been doing this for 480 million years. Bristle worm. Off the coast of Chile, at extreme depth, a research team scanning the seabed caught this moving across the sediment and almost mistook it for debris. Up close, it was something else. A long, flat body covered edge to edge in dense dark bristles that caught the camera light and threw it back in shifting colors. That shimmer is not bioluminescence. It comes from microscopic protein structures built into each bristle, something crawling blind across the ocean floor, glittering in the dark with no one around to see it. Reef octopus. A diver exploring a coral shelf in the Celebes Sea nearly swam past this without seeing it. It was already there, pressed flat against the rock, its skin changing colors to match the coral texture around it. The moment the camera found it, it shifted, body lifting slightly, arms repositioning. Octopuses do this through chromatophores, thousands of pigment cells embedded in the skin that expand and contract in milliseconds. It is not just a color change. The texture changes too. Smooth skin becoming ridged and rough to match whatever surface it is sitting against. Near impossible to spot until it moves. Hairy frogfish. A diver moving along the seafloor off Ambon Island in Indonesia captured this strange creature. It looked like a clump of algae sitting on the rock, textured, fringed, completely still. Then it moved, and the whole shape rearranged itself. The hairy frogfish does not swim. It walks, pushing itself across the seabed on thick modified fins. And that small spine extending from its forehead is not decoration, it is a lure, waved just above its mouth to draw prey close. When something takes the bait, the frogfish strikes in 6 milliseconds, faster than a blink. Crossota jellyfish. A research vessel, exploring nearly 4,000 meters down in the Mariana Trench Basin, caught this peculiar creature floating in the water. A small domed bell, amber and red glowing from inside. The structures visible through the transparent tissue are its reproductive organs. 16 white tentacles were extended outward in every direction. According to the experts, it does not chase anything. It holds that position in the dark, arms spread wide, and waits for whatever drifts into range. Tripod fish. A deep-sea camera scanning the sediment floor of the West Mariana Ridge caught this standing completely still in the dark. 3 impossibly thin fin rays, 2 from its pelvis, 1 from its tail, propped its entire body off the mud like stilts, while its pectoral fins extended forward like antennae, sensing any movement in the water ahead. What makes it stranger is that every single tripod fish carries both male and female reproductive organs. Tentacled creature. An ROV team monitoring a research mooring line near the Yap Trench, northwest of Guam, sent their camera down for what should have been a routine equipment check. What the lights picked up stopped everything. Something had wrapped itself around the cable, long, pale, thread-thin tentacles spreading outward in every direction from a central mass, coiling slowly around the pole as if it had claimed it. The tentacles caught the light faintly before disappearing back into the black. The team watched the footage and couldn't put a name to it. Neither could anyone else who saw it after. Bizarre sea creature. The camera was pointed straight down at the seafloor near the Mariana Trench's western rim, northeast of Yap Island, when the sand moved. A massive shape shoved itself upward from beneath the sediment, sending thick clouds of pale silt billowing out in every direction. As the dust cleared, long segmented legs were spreading wide, each one edged with sharp serrated points, and two stiff antennae pushed straight up through the water. It had been lying under the sand the whole time, completely hidden, waiting for the right time to catch its prey. Plesiosaur. A diver filming near the Saipan coast in the northern Mariana Islands caught something passing above him that he couldn't explain. First came the long dark neck, curved and thick, cutting silently through the turquoise water. Then the body followed, massive, flat, and dark, wider than anything he had seen in those waters, with a small fin tucked underneath. He didn't approach it, he just kept the camera pointed up and watched it pass. Some marine biologists who later reviewed the footage said one thing: it resembled a plesiosaur. Bumpy snailfish. A camera lowered into the Izu-Ogasawara Trench, just northeast of the Mariana Trench, caught this moving through the water at over 8,000 meters down. It looks soft, almost harmless, a small pink body covered in bumpy textured skin, tiny blue eyes, and thin whisker-like fins trailing beneath it. What nobody expected was what researchers found inside its stomach. Snailfish at this depth eat constantly, and their stomachs are almost always full, making them the most successful predators in the deepest place on Earth. Something that small, that fragile looking, sitting at the very bottom of the ocean, outcompeting everything else down there. Peculiar creature. A research camera deployed along the Tonga Trench floor picked this up, drifting through the water column in complete darkness. It had a small, boxy, transparent body, electric blue, almost glowing against the black, with a single, impossibly thin thread trailing behind it, several times the length of its own body. No visible eyes, no obvious means of propulsion. It just moved, slowly and deliberately, as if it knew exactly where it was going. Nobody on the team could name it with certainty. If you recognize what this is, the comment section is waiting. Vampire squid. A deep-sea camera operating in the Java Trench picked this up, moving slowly through the water column at over 1,000 meters down. Dark red body, blue eyes, and a cloak of webbed skin connecting its arms. It looked built for something sinister. But the vampire squid is one of the least threatening predators in the deep ocean. It does not hunt. It feeds entirely on marine snow, organic matter, shed skin, and waste drifting down from the surface. Something named after a monster, surviving on whatever the ocean decides to throw away. Water anole. A camera filming along a rocky stream bed in Costa Rica caught this strange lizard staring directly into the lens on the seabed. The silver mass covering its head is not a deformity. It is an air bubble, trapped against its water-repelling skin, acting as an external lung. This is actually a water anole that can stay underwater for up to 20 minutes using this method, extracting oxygen directly from the bubble as it depletes. Disco clam. A scuba diver exploring a coral reef in the Banda Sea pushed aside a crevice and found this pulsing inside it. Vivid orange, fringed with dense tentacles, and flashing, a rapid strobing light running along the edge of its mantle that looked electrical. It is not. Those flashes come from microscopic silica spheres embedded in the tissue, reflecting ambient light at high speed. What made this creature even more strange from other sea creatures is that it has no brain, no eyes, and no nervous system capable of producing light. Yet it puts on a display intense enough to confuse and deter mantis shrimp, one of the most aggressive predators on the reef. Brittle star. A diver scanning the sandy floor off the coast of Sulawesi nearly missed this creature because it blended perfectly into the sediment. It had pale, flat arms curling across the sand in slow, deliberate movements. Unlike starfish, brittle stars do not use suction to move. They pull themselves forward using their arms alone, each one bending independently like a finger. And if something grabs one of those arms, the brittle simply detaches it and keeps going, and the arm grows back. What looks fragile is actually a survival technique to walk away from anything that tries to capture it. Vent anemones. A woman biologist exploring the Galapagos Marine Reserve at 600 meters came across this growth from the seafloor and stopped to record it. Tall, rust-colored mineral columns rising from the rock and covering every surface around them, dozens of white anemones, each one having thread-like antennas. Everything alive here runs on chemosynthesis, bacteria converting toxic chemicals venting from the seafloor into energy. The anemones live in partnership with those bacteria, building entire communities around vents. It is a complete ecosystem running on poison instead of sunlight. Galapagos dwarf octopus. A team of scientists exploring the seafloor near Darwin Island in the Galapagos Islands recently discovered this at nearly 1,800 meters down and formally named it Microweldone galapagensis. It is roughly the size of a golf ball, pale blue across its back, dark purple on its inner mantle, with stubby arms lined in a single row of suckers. The thing that made it strange is that by covering the prey with its dark web, the octopus hides the light and prevents itself from being spotted by larger, deeper sea predators. Sheep's head fish. A diver broke open a shellfish with a hammer on the seafloor off the coast of Japan and held the pieces out, and suddenly this creature came straight toward him. The Asian sheep's head wrasse, known locally as kobodai, is unmistakable up close. That swollen forehead is not a deformity. It develops as the fish transitions from female to male, a change every single kobodai goes through. This fish had been visiting the same diver for 30 years. He found it injured on the seafloor once, nursed it back, and it kept coming back to the same spot ever since. Chirodectes jellyfish. A diver exploring the waters off Queensland, Australia, came across this drifting beside a coral wall and nearly mistook it for a plastic bag caught in the current. Up close, it was something far stranger, a translucent bell covered in dark oval spots and stripes, with a vivid red organ burning through the center of its body, its gastrovascular cavity visible through the skin. It was actually Chirodectes maculatus, and the thing that made it distinct is that it has 24 eyes arranged in 4 clusters, and some of them are permanently fixed upward, constantly watching the surface above it, regardless of which direction the body turns. Sea cow. A diver filming seagrass beds in Crystal River, Florida, came face to face with this elephant-like creature moving slowly across the floor, its broad muzzle pressed into the grass. A manatee, fully grown, covered in algae patches that had settled into the folds of its thick gray skin. They move at a walking pace and spend most of their lives doing exactly this, grazing. An adult eats up to 15% of its own body weight in vegetation every single day, even though they are completely harmless. Bomber worm. A deep-sea camera deployed below 2,700 meters in the Celebes Sea caught this moving through the water. It was pale, slender, and fringed along its entire length with dense white bristles that fanned outward like oars. It moved in both directions with equal ease. But the detail that shocks people is the defense mechanism. When threatened, the bomber worm detaches small, fluid-filled sacs from its body and releases them into the water. Each one bursts into a flash of bioluminescent light, a decoy left glowing in the dark while the worm slips away. Sea hare. A beachgoer walking the shoreline in the Canary Islands stopped when something dark and flat caught his eye in the shallows. It had 2 wide wing-like flaps spreading from its body and rippling softly with each wave. Out of curiosity, he searched through Google Lens and identified it as a sea hare, which is a slug. When threatened, it releases a cloud of purple ink into the water, which temporarily blinds the predator. Catfish bull. Scientists sent a camera down near the Mariana Trench to document marine life when it picked up this moving through the water, a dense, rolling mass of small striped bodies packed so tightly together they looked like a single dark organism. These are juvenile striped eel catfish. Hundreds of them move as one shape, constantly shifting, making it nearly impossible for a predator to isolate a single fish. Every one of them carries venomous spines in their fins, and as adults, they separate and become solitary. Humphead wrasse. A diver filming along a coral reef in the Raja Ampat archipelago turned around and found this creature coming straight at him, mouth wide open, bulging forehead filling the lens. When it came too close, the diver made it go away with his hand. It had green eyes with a strange pattern on its body. Later, the diver shared the footage with one of his seniors, who identified it as a humphead. The humphead wrasse is one of the largest reef fish on Earth, reaching up to 2 meters long. Also, it has absolutely no fear of divers, and its forehead grows larger as it ages. Blue-ringed octopus. A diver filming a coral shelf off the Banda Sea spotted this moving across the rock and stopped immediately. It had a pale cream and brown body covered in vivid electric blue rings that pulsed and brightened as the camera moved closer. The blue-ringed octopus carries tetrodotoxin, one of the most lethal natural substances on Earth, with no known antivenom. A single bite delivers enough to finish off a grown adult within minutes, and the bite itself is nearly painless. Most victims do not realize what happened until breathing becomes difficult. Tasseled wobbegong. A marine biologist sent a camera down the coast of Papua New Guinea when it picked up something that at first looked like part of the seafloor. Flat, mottled, and fringed with skin flaps that broke up its outline against the coral. This is a tasseled wobbegong. It spends most of its time lying motionless on the seabed, using its patterning to blend into the reef beneath it. It waits for something to come close, then suddenly opens its mouth and creates a vacuum, pulling the prey in before it can react. Open discussion. A team of scientists sent deep into the Mariana Trench came across something on the seafloor that stopped them cold. Resting among the coral was a massive, long-jawed skull lined with teeth the size of forearms. Coral had grown into the eye sockets. The bone was pale and dense, and the jaw structure matched nothing found in any known marine species. It took them half an hour to capture it fully on camera, but they still could not understand what kind of creature the skeleton belonged to. The team surfaced with a piece of bone, and tests are still underway to determine what species it belonged to. If you have any idea what this skeleton resembled, you just saw the weird side of the world, but trust me, it gets wilder. Subscribe to WOW, and never miss what's coming next.
This guy's peaceful sleep was disturbed by knocking sounds, and this long, terrifying figure was standing still to welcome him.
Billy, is that you?
Holding his torch when he went for a closer look. It slapped on his camera and shut it down. Now we can only imagine how an encounter with a creature like this could end. Walking along an abandoned garden, a group of friends saw a shadowy figure with long hair sitting on the bench. Scared that an encounter would be dangerous, they left the place. Of course, some things are better to be left alone. Sitting outside a park, this guy spotted a creepy face behind the trees. Strange features unlike any human. It was staring at him with its haunting, glowing eyes. Perhaps it was a ghost or some evil spirit lurking in the woods. Next up, we have this CCTV footage where a bright orb-like object fell from the sky, and within moments, its shape shifted and ran toward the fence on the other side. People speculated it could be a ghost horse, as its shape eerily resembled the animal. As no one knew what it was, the reality could be far more terrifying. A man couldn't believe his eyes when he noticed a shadow outside his window, and in a blink, a bizarre face came out. Is it just me, or does its features actually resemble extraterrestrials? Let me know in the comments. What if aliens and otherworldly creatures are already here? and hiding in plain sight? Everyone was asking this question when this clip went viral online. A woman seemed to bend her legs backwards in an odd way, impossible for any human. A reptilian human, or just a glitch in the Matrix? When a clip of these two bright yellow discs went viral online, people were left terrified. As the building had been abandoned for quite some time, people thought it might be a perfect place for extraterrestrial activity. What do you think? This strange humanoid wearing a white dress was captured on a home security camera in India. It appeared to be walking really fast. Then suddenly it started disappearing in the air and turned into a cloud of black smoke. Yeah, definitely not something from this world. This is your warning to never visit the woods alone. A woman was seen being led away by an unknown figure. Going deep in the woods, she vanished along with the figure. Seeing the footage, folks have been speculating that they were aliens and that she might have been abducted. What do you guys think about it? Leaving the body and then moving up from the bed. Was it a soul departing from the world? Whatever it was, this clip has left people terrified of hospitals. Did you catch a shadowy figure? It was roaming around in the hotel, and before anyone could notice, it vanished. But CCTV had not missed it. A ghost, an evil spirit, or something more mysterious. This video was released on the dark web, and it showed a creepy man talking to his doll. Not only was the doll speaking, it was also moving in a terrifying way. After watching this unsettling clip, everyone was spooked out. Maybe the doll was a possessed one, but the truth is still unknown. With a head like deer and legs resembling a spider's tentacled ones, this creature was caught feasting upon something. Thankfully, there was no one around, or they would have become its next bite. In 2020, a strange video was recorded at Kidney Hill Park. It captured an unusual figure hanging above a truck. It moved its long limbs in a disturbing way. Suddenly, the video cut off, and some believe this mysterious entity might have been the reason behind it. This lake in the forest was quite notorious. And this footage is enough to explain the reason. A strange creature was seen rising up from behind a rock. Was it a zombie, a rake, or maybe some other terrifying creature of end times? Now you might think it's just a statue, but nope! It was actually a mythical goat man sitting in a still position. And think for a moment, what if it woke up and started walking among us? A group of Canadian explorers, while exploring a mental asylum, were welcomed by this horrific creature crawling on all four limbs. And after watching this, people speculated it could be a human that took this shape after being locked for a long time. What's your take on this? Let me know in the comments.
Oh shit! Let's go! Fucking this way! Where's the other guy?
In an uninhabited region, Indonesian YouTubers found this strange creature. It was Nahuel, a shapeshifter known for shifting shape from animal to human in just a few seconds. Hibernating deep in the cave, this jinn was found in Saudi Arabia.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Sitting eerily still, it just stared at the cameraman. It seemed as if it was manifesting, but got disturbed.
انت بشر زينا اخوان شايفين وجهه انتو.
Lying on the road, this black creature was not looking alive. Gradually, it started peeking its head. What it actually was is not confirmed, but I am sure it was not something from this world. In November 2003, a forest ranger had a terrifying encounter with this strange humanoid. It was completely black, except for its pale face and long, pointed fingers. As it made eerie noises and rushed toward the cameraman, the screen started shaking. And what happened to him after this is just a mystery, but I cannot hope for good. In 2020, numerous goblin sightings were reported by locals in a small town of Brazil, and this was one of them captured on camera. This clip was enough to make me spooked out. Back in 2024, this animal was found in a tunnel near Chernobyl, and it seemed like a result of scientists' hidden cross-breeded experiment between a fox and a hawk. In India, a creepy sighting was recorded by locals near a vendor stall. A figure with eerie features was standing next to the stall. Apparently, it resembled humans, but one look at its rolling eyes and weird mouth will make you think twice. Have a look at what these guys found in the woods in the middle of the night. A massive hole in the ground. As they took a closer look, there were a bunch of candles slid up inside. And if that wasn't enough, there was also a guy sitting there who seemed to be busy performing some kind of ritual. Not wanting to mess with something unknown, they decided to back away. Definitely a smart move. This video from the mortuary showed a terrifying scene that no one had ever expected. A body lying on the stretcher started moving. What? Had the doctors made a mistake? Or could it be someone's restless soul? Nothing is normal about this video. A woman captured a bizarre figure walking in front of her in a very creepy way. And when it turned around, its face looked scary. Perhaps it was someone released from mental asylum after years, or a person possessed by some evil spirit. A group of witches dressed in long black gowns were caught by a drone camera standing on the rooftop. It seemed like they were performing a ritual. Strangely, before the drone could zoom in for a closer look, it suddenly crashed. Guess they didn't like being recorded. Released on the dark web, this clip showed a woman in a terrifying state. Imagine seeing this yourself. Heck no. Some people thought she was possessed, while others believed she was a witch. This black hairy devil with red face and long horns was seen in the backyard of a man living alone. And strangely, the home owner was not seen after that night. Think we can all guess what happened to him? These long pointed hands were hints of the absolute fear coming up, but this guy was not backing down and came across this. A haunting beast. Suddenly the video ended, and now we can only imagine how the encounter would have ended. What would you do if a witch became your guest?
Who are you?
In 2024, a woman in Ohio captured this visitor outside her room's window.
What's wrong with you?
It was talking in a terrifying way and tried to get inside of it. But thank God, the window was closed. Okay, now you might be thinking it's just a glitch in the Matrix. But no, it's not. Have a look at it again. A walking shadow of a small girl appeared out of nowhere, and it disappeared as quickly as it was seen. Could it be possible that a spirit had traveled into our world? A strange creature was caught on CCTV. Its head looked like a bird, but its body resembled an animal. In a blink, it ran past the camera and disappeared. Locals thought it might be some kind of hybrid animal, but since it was never spotted again, they didn't think much of it. While driving toward the jungle, a man spotted a shadowy figure walking along the road. As it reached the opposite side, it disappeared into the trees. It looked like the ghost was roaming its territory. After seeing it, the man quickly turned back and left the area. This terrifying creature was caught peeking into the camera set at a remote location, looking like a beast covered in long black hair. No one could identify what it actually was, and I think it's better to leave such creatures alone. In a backyard, homeowners saw a bicycle that was moving on its own. After moving for a while, it fell down. There's no way a cycle could move on its own. So the question was, who was riding it? Perhaps a ghost. What do you guys think about it? Now take a look at this creature found in the forest. Under an abandoned wooden hut, a guy saw a bizarre figure standing still and staring at him with bright orb-like eyes. Although he was sure it was a ghost performing a creepy ritual, skeptics were still doubtful. This video, posted on the internet, featured a person with a face like a wolf and body covered all in hair was behaving wildly. It seemed like it was recorded in a hidden place. Was it a wolfman or some hybrid creature? Tourists unlocked a building that had been sealed for nearly a century. As they stepped inside, they saw a black, ghostly figure. It remained completely still, almost as if it was meditating, but they dared to stay long enough to find out what would happen if it woke up. This footage was recorded by construction workers inside a cave in Saudi Arabia. A black hand emerged from the ground, and as soon as a guy started spraying on it, it hid back. Could it be a beast hibernating underground and now showing up?